guys, welcome to my channel Grab Your Notes. This is Reshna sharing my handwritten notes. Today we are going to deal about the topic place of suing. So let's get started. So guys, the topic place of suing falls under the section 15 to 21A of CPC. Section 15 to 21A of CPC regulate the forum for the institution of suits. In India, there are several high courts. The high courts have original jurisdiction to try all suits except those cognizable by the small cause courts. The following are the several grades of courts in order. Number 1, High Court. Number 2, District Courts. Just below the High Court is the District Court, which is the principal civil court of original jurisdiction in the district. It is also a court of appeal from the decree and orders of subordinate courts in certain cases. Number 3, below the District Courts are the court of other subordinate judges, civil judges, munsifs, etc. Now, let's get into Section 15. Section 15 deals with courts in which suits is to be instituted. Section 15 provides that every suit is to be instituted in the court of lowest grade competent to try it. Thus, both the district judge and subordinate judge have original jurisdiction over all suits cognizable by a civil court, subject to a certain procedures, namely that the suits should be instituted in the court of the lowest grade competent to try them. The object of the legislature is that the court of the higher grade should not be overburdened with suits. Now let's understand the effect of Section 15 with the help of an example. If a suit which ought to have been instituted in a court of higher grade is filed in a lower court, the latter ought to return the plaint to the plaintiff to be presented to the court of a higher grade. If this is not done and the suit is heard by the lower court, the decree would be a nullity, being one passed without jurisdiction. It may be noted that this is a case of want of jurisdiction and not a case of mere irregularity within the meaning of Section 99 of the Code. Let us discuss a case which dealt with this concept. In the case of Rajlakshmi vs. Katyayani 1911, the Calcutta High Court held that if the suit is undervalued, with the result that the appeal from the decree in a suit is tried and decided by a district court instead of by a high court, the decree of the district court is one passed by a court without jurisdiction and therefore a nullity. The next section deals with suits to be instituted where subject matter is situated. Under Section 16, subject to the pecuniary or other limitations prescribed by a law, suits A. for the recovery of immovable property with or without rent or profits, B. for the partition of immovable property, C. for foreclosure, sale or redemption in the case of a mortgage of or charge upon immovable property, D. for the determination of any other right to or interest in immovable property, E. for compensation for wrong to immovable property, F. for the recovery of movable property actually under distraint or attachment are to be instituted in the court within whose jurisdiction the property is situated. So therefore, all such suits are to be instituted within the jurisdiction the property is situated. But proviso to Section 16 says, however, a suit to obtain relief respecting or compensation for wrong to immovable property held by or on behalf of the defendant may, where the relief sought can be entirely obtained through his personal obedience, be instituted either in the court within the local limits of whose jurisdiction the property is situated, or in the court within the local limits of whose jurisdiction the defendant actually or voluntarily resides or carries on business or personally works for gain. Now let's get into section number 18. suits for court's jurisdiction is uncertain. Section 18 lays down that where it is alleged to be uncertain within the local limits of the jurisdiction of which two or more courts and immovable property is situated, any one of those courts may, if satisfied that there is ground for the alleged uncertainty, record a statement to that effect and thereupon proceed to entertain and dispose of any suit relating to that property. The decree of such a court in the suit will have the same effect as if the property was situated within the local limits of its jurisdiction. In such cases, it is presumed that the suit is won with respect to that court is competent as regard to nature and value of the suit to exercise jurisdiction. It is further provided that if a statement has not been recorded by the court and an objection is taken before an appellate or revisional court that a decree or order in a suit relating to such property was made by a court not having jurisdiction where the property is situated, the appellate or revisional court cannot allow the objection unless in its opinion there was at the time of the institution of the suit no reasonable ground for uncertainty as to the court having jurisdiction with respect thereto, and there has been a consequential failure of justice. Section 19 deals with suits for compensation for wrong to persons or movables. Under Section 19, if a suit is for compensation for wrongdoing to person or to movable property, if the wrong was done within the local limits of the jurisdiction of one court and the defendant resides or carries on business or personally works for gain within the local limits of jurisdiction of another court, the suit may be instituted at the option of the plaintiff in either of the said court. Let's understand with the help of an illustration. A residing in Delhi beats B in Kolkata. B may sue A either in Kolkata or in Delhi. Now let's get into section number 20. Section 20 deals with other suits. Section 20 then provides that subject to all limitations discussed above, every suit is to be instituted in a court within the local limits of whose jurisdiction A. the defendant or each of the defendant where there are more than one at the time of the commencement of the suit actually and voluntarily resides or carries on business or personally works for gain. Or B. in those jurisdictions where any of the defendants where there are more than one at the time of the commencement of the suit actually and voluntarily resides or carries on business or personally works for gain, provided that in such cases either the leave of the court is given or the defendant who do not reside or carry on business or personally works for gain as aforesaid acquiesce in such institution. C. in that jurisdiction where the cause of action wholly or in part arises. Explanation to section 20 says that a corporation is deemed to carry on business at its sole or principal office in India or in respect of any cause of action arising at any place where it also has a subordinate office at such place. Now let's discuss the last topic of the video, leave of the court. Leave of the court is required when some of the defendants are within the court's jurisdiction and the others are outside the court's jurisdiction. In the case of Narayan versus the Secretary of State 1906, the Bombay High Court held that the leave may be given after the institution of the suit. In another case of Dwarkadas versus Hanumandas 1961, it was held that leave of the court can even be given at the stage of appeal. It's all for today. Let's continue in the next video. Happy learning, guys!